Howie, great to have you on the podcast here today. How's it going?
How are you, Jared? Good to be here.
I'm doing well. I'm excited to chat. Let's dive right in. First off, would love if you could tell the audience a little bit about your background, and then we'll talk about some of the cool things you're doing at Gen, and then we'll dig deep into your thoughts on what's happening in AI today.
Yep. So I'm a software guy for the last 20 some years. Early VMware guys. I've done a few startups. In the recent decade or so, I've been doing AI machine learning. And of course, in the recent years, a lot of the generative AI. Right now, I'm the Chief AI and Innovation Officer at Gen. Gen is the former Symantec Consumer Business, acquired a few other business and combined and renamed to Gen. So, so having a lot of fun. And my mission here is actually one is to hopefully that company on the right trajectory when it comes to AI adoption. And the other thing is actually develop some interesting AI native applications.
Now, one of the things I'd love to hear from you is it can be about Gen, but even outside of Gen, a few things that really excite you about where AI is at today, and also maybe a few things that scare you about where it is today.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually the same thing. What excited me is actually AI is finally on the trajectory of being pragmatic. What does that mean? Because we all have, we have known AI for, decades, and we know deep learning for more than a decade, right? So people have been doing AI deep learning for a while. But the reality is, other than a few very specific use cases, it's very hard to get AI into pragmatic adoption or deployment. When you look into why, it always takes 50 steps to get this AI right, and the 50 steps takes a lot of effort. What excited me is finally generative AI or foundation model, basically shrink that 50 steps to 15 steps or 10 steps. So from that point of view, because we basically get a model, the baseline, better, so that you can do less. But you also asked me what scared me. I think what scared me and then the industry should be, it still takes 10, 15, maybe 20 steps to do it right. So don't underestimate to get AI done right. So a lot of time people just see a sexy demo and say, wow, let's do it, without understanding, knowing that, what's really behind that. So in a summary, what excites me is actually finally AI is a lot more pragmatic than before. When it comes to adoption. But what scared me and everyone should be, it's still not an easy task.
Let's do something kind of fun here. What's a company you really admired, let's say back 10, 15 years ago, and how would you rethink that business if AI was at the level it's at today back then?
10, 15 years ago, I mentioned earlier, I was early VMware guys, I left about, 13 years ago. So VMware, I grew up at VMware, right? And then that's a company I admired a lot. What would AI have done? So here's the thing. VMware was the leader, right? Industry leader before the public cloud days, right? Software, infrastructure, everyone was migrating to VMware. In some ways, I wouldn't say VMware missed the public cloud, but, didn't really, thrived in the public cloud age. It's almost like Microsoft missed the mobile, right, in some ways, but they, took they got another act going. So I think VMware could have, got AI going, even though it missed the public cloud thing. So what does that mean? So when it comes to AI, a lot of that is just automation, because managing infrastructure, managing security, managing storage, it just take forever. So if you are able to sort of adopt AI into the real management, the real day-to-day thing, that would have saved people a lot of time. I don't think we as an industry have done very well, because we always are attracted to sexy demo and then celebrate prematurely. But it's one of those things that it's a company I admire a lot, and then I think it's a company that could even today AWS, Google Cloud, they are getting AI into their cloud, into their management console, into their everything.
Let's kind of shift focus a little bit here. When you look at like what is your advice for companies that are looking to start to integrate and implement AI into their workflows? Let's kind of come up with a 90-day plan, right? So what would you give advice to executives? First 90 days, they're not leveraging AI at all. What does that 90-day plan look like to get started?
That's a very good question. There are always two ways to look at it. One is having an AI person come into your organization, look what problem to solve, how to solve a problem. The other way is, getting a domain expert, thinking about what pinpoint do I have, and then talking to some AI person almost as a consultant and see, hey, can you help me to solve this kind of the problem? We as an industry have been doing both. I would say it has been slow. It has been slow for a lot of reasons, not just, but the one reason is these two camps of people need to work side by side, not like just the one side leading, the other side being the consultant or the other way around. It's almost like, they are partner at the table and thinking about on a daily basis. On a daily basis, you can't just think about it in the dark room, hey, what should we do? And then pass over to the other side. Hey, AI people, you help me. Let's have a meeting in a week or two. It should be minute by minute, sit together, think about it. It's a culture change. It's a process change. I haven't seen Fortune 500 companies doing that very well. But, one, it will take time. But, my projection is 5 years from now, 10 years from now, that model will be the default, will be natural. But today it's not natural.
Let's talk a little bit about some recent news that came out, right? For instance, as it relates to AI, Intel CEO is not going to be there anymore, right? So let's take a large organization like that. They'll be implementing a new leader. What would your advice be to the new CEO of Intel, whoever that may be?
That's a very broad question because Intel, they could play a role in AI in so many different fronts around the hardware level, at a software level, right? I would say, look, Intel missed, by and large, missed the AI sort of the trend, right? NVIDIA is the winner, AMD of the world is like a distant second, and then Intel didn't even have a play. I think they it's a long play. The fact that Pat Gelsinger is one of the best tech executives in the industry in the last 30 years. The fact that he left, after 3+ years, that means the board had zero patience. Why do I say that? Whatever under Pat's leadership, they shipped, I don't know how many products. Whatever the products he shipped, it had nothing to do with Pat because hardware cycle is like 5-year cycle. Whatever Intel shipped in the last 3 years, it was by the previous, regime. So whatever he has been working on, he's, doing in the last 3 years, it's going to see the fruits next 5 years. So that's actually one of the things I mentioned, right? When it comes to AI, you have to have the patience. You have to have the right process, have the right culture. It's not a quick and a dirty thing, show a, sexy demo. In the case of the AI, they need to figure out what do I play, hardware. It's a 5 to 8 years, sort of the journey. The board seems like they don't have any patience. That's, outside our scope. Now, other things, right? Intel could work with the OpenAI of the world. You probably heard the news or saw the rumor that Intel had a chance to invest in OpenAI, they could have been a 10% owner of OpenAI easily at this point, but they missed it. So I think, I would look for being partner of the, not today's OpenAI Anthropic, but hopefully the next generation of the Anthropic OpenAI of the world. I think, look, Microsoft missed the mobile badly, but they picked on the next battle, which is cloud. So it's okay to miss one and then sort of move on. So I don't think, Intel is, zero chance, but whoever the next CEO needs to have the vision, needs to have the right support and the patience from the board. It's very unclear to me that's even remotely possible. So
Very interesting. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Intel. I've heard a lot about also just breaking up parts of the business is something that they're really considering as well, which makes, I mean, part of that would make sense.
It makes financial sense, right? Even their IP, right? Deep IP, the intellectual property is worth so much. Like fundamental intellectual property alone is worth billions of dollars. But it's going to be sad if that's what Intel is going to end up with, right? It's such a legendary company. But that being said, every company has its own life, right? The cycle. Every company will, peak and then, at some point go away. So I have a lot of emotional attachment to Intel because I grew up where Intel thrived. But on the other hand, right, every company has its own time.
So you said something that I want to kind of circle back to. You mentioned how obviously Microsoft missed mobile, but they were good on cloud. Now, let's talk about, though, at a certain stage in a company like an Intel and some of these other large companies, it's okay to maybe miss one cycle. But when you miss, is it almost a death sentence to some of these large companies that completely miss AI? If I know there'll be other cycles and things like that, but at what stage of a company do you say if they miss a certain cycle like AI, they are in very, very big trouble for what the future is going to look like for them?
I think that's not how I think about it, because AI is such an overloaded term. When it comes to AI, what is AI? Or what do you mean by doing things in the AI? Are you talking about foundation model? Are you talking about the infrastructure around the foundation model? Are you talking about the applications? Are you talking about vertical cross-disciplinary applications, right? For healthcare, for education? It could mean so many things. I can totally see a company of the size of the caliber of Intel. They missed the foundation model boom. They missed the, even infrastructure for the foundation model. They missed the vertical, but they may thrive in, some cross-disciplinary thing, right? Think about what Google got, right? Even though they were behind the ChatGPT, OpenAI in many ways, but they got a Nobel Prize for the AlphaFold, right? It's only the beginning. So I think the AI revolution, we are at the very, very early beginning. The analogy I would use is it's like the one of the industrial revolution when electricity was invented. It took 30 years just for people to see the true value of the electricity. And then you see microwave, fridge, the rest of things. So I think we are far away from, if you think about AI as the new electricity, we probably haven't seen any, microwave, the refrigerator, any of that yet. So yes, Intel missed, foundation model, probably, it's too late. But I don't think Intel or companies like Intel missed the AI revolution. That's not true at all. Now, whether they can do it or not, that's a totally different story.
Before we wrap up, Howie, I have one last question for you, and that's around the HumanX conference. What really excites you about this event coming to us in March?
Well, HumanX is organized by some extremely talented group of people who organized, similar legendary events in some other areas. I can totally see that they turn HumanX to be the best AI event. It's funny that you probably know that in the AI sort of the boom in the last 2 years. So many companies that we were talking about, Intel or other company doing AI or whatnot. But there's only one company for all practical purpose that made the money. That's NVIDIA. That's more or less true, right? Second best industry. I'm half joking, by the way. Second best industry who's making money is the summit and a conference. But we are in the education period. But there are so much of that very noisy. The quality of the events, varied. I would love to see a very high quality event that people can truly come, learn so much, become the place people to get inspired, get the reality out of it, see how other people in the industry get real value out of it, not just the noisy stuff, but also get true value. I'm looking forward to seeing such an event, even though there are a gazillion of them out there already. And I think HumanX has that potential. By me talking to the organizer, by how many other extremely great people they have recruited to be the speakers so far.
Absolutely. Well, Howie, I'm
By the
excited
way, I'm in Las Vegas right now. Hopefully next year I'm coming back, to say, wow, this is truly a much better AI conference.
I love it. Howie, thank you so much for joining us here today. Look forward to seeing you at the event in March, and wishing you all the best of luck. But thanks for your thoughts here today.
I'm looking forward to it. Thank you, everyone.